Hello and welcome. Today I want to give a quick little preview to a game called Arms Trade Tycoon, which is planning to have a Kickstarter late of March. In Arms Trade Tycoon, you take on the role of a tank designer. Think people like Porsche during the era of tanks. The game will start off with the beginning of tank development, which is World War I, and you will end up with modern time tanks. This game is unique from other tank related games because you focus your time on designing tanks, and a big portion of that is to find the biggest bang for the buck. You can go full on Porsche and German tank design and create the best tank possible. However, this will not always be the best solution. These tanks will be incredibly expensive to build and to maintain, and might not actually will outperform the enemy's tanks in the field due to, well, you can only take out 4, but for the same price the enemy can field 10. So that wouldn't work. As such, you spend your time min-maxing your designs and making the best available tank at the time for the role that it needs to fulfill and the enemies it needs to face. You do this by designing your tanks. You will working from sort of fixed designs. You can start off with a Mark I or an A7V tank from World War I, for example, but the customization is in things like armor thickness, what kind of power it has. You modify these stats, so you don't have free-form design that you can work with, but you design around the stats of existing tanks. Another big part of the game will be reverse engineering parts that you've found or been sent to you from the battlefield, and working with the feedback that you will get from your tanks actually performing in battle. All of these things will affect your rating and will lead to more missions and more tasks that will influence the way you play. During an interview, the developer allowed me to have a look at a pre-alpha build of the game, and we'll walk with you through it right now. Right now you're looking at the factory side. Here you see your different buildings that you will have access to: your research department, your development department, your engineers department, and all that kind of things. Right now you're looking at the tech department. These are your researchers. They will research your new designs, your new features that you could build on your tank, like improvements on new guns, new machine guns, better engines, new models. And some of this research is dependent on which access to which hulls you have access to, and some of this might be unlocked due to events. For example, you might get access to a different hull type due to it being recovered on the battlefield. You might be working for the British, but they managed to bring in an A7V, and you will get access to that research, and you might even use some of that research on your, for example, you can see here your Mark I. Now there's a lot of attributes that you can look at, and there's detailed models, but this is just the hull of a Mark I. And you can see, like, hey, you have some crew awareness, your crew aiming. This is all the stats that this basic hull piece will add, and you can start researching it and just, well, assign your staff to it, and it will take a certain amount of time and resources to get it done. Next up, you've got your world map. This is where you get some information about your countries that you can work for and sell your tanks for. This is not during the interview. We didn't have a lot of info said about it, but you can click your countries and you can get a description about what they are, what their reputation is, and that kind of stuff, and how many tasks there is, but also kind of what their style is. It means like what kind of economy do they have, how much they want to invest in armed forces, all that kind of stuff. This will influence your design decisions. Next up, we're gonna take a look at some of your engineering guys, and you can see here, I believe this is the engineering department, where they look at designing the tanks and the hulls, and there's also some backwards engineering that you can see with the Renault right there. But here is where you design your tanks. You select the modules which you want to use. You can see that you can choose from the hull, turret, your main gun, your machine guns, your engines, your movers, which is basically your tracks, and all kind of things that are meant to that, your flywheels, that kind of stuff. And you can add components that will change its behavior, add in certain stats, but will of course make the tank more expensive to use. You also got some free engineering points, which you can freely spend to min-max the tank in such a way it will perfectly fit the design criteria given by your employer. Next up, we're going to take a look at the actual building department. These are the guys that will build the designs that have been designed by your engineers. This is also the guys which you can see in at the broken Mark 1 there that will give you some info about, like, hey, this tank had these types of battle, and how can we influence. And as you can see here, the whole design that we made by the engineers is now available in here. And now we're going to make the actual design of the tank, like fit all the parts together and not just the individual parts. So you can add your tracks to the tank, and you can have designed this just like the hull and made these modifications and designs to it. So you can like specify the min-max attributes of the tank. On the right, you can see in attributes, you have a short list of overviews. This is your general mobility, your general protection power, your general firepower, your general crew points. This is of course influenced by what you put on the tank, but you can also expand these attribute windows, and you can see in detail what is influencing your actual total score on those attributes. But with this, you can, as you can see it right now, the total agility, your road speed, that kind of stuff. And this is like detailed for all the specific parts, and all of the parts that you add on the tank will increase the total of this. And of course, these parts are which you designed before with your engineering department. And well, there you have a tank, and you will start, well, construction on it. But I love what you can see here is these nice, well-detailed models, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of these models and what tanks they're gonna add into it. Just really, the more I look at this game, the more I focus on it. I'm like making this video, the more I get enthusiastic about the actual progress of like the actual process of what the game is gonna be. It's gonna be about tanks, but it's not going to be about playing with tanks, and it's not going to be all that what exists, but it's going to be about building them, designing them, and seeing what your designs can do in the fields. That's like a proper Tycoon game, and I really like that about what the game is trying to set out. So all in all, I am really looking forward to seeing what they're gonna do with this game. I think they've got something unique, but something fun. Like, there's no game that does anything like this out there. There are things that come close, but what game gives you the chance to design your own tanks, which give you this much freedom to work with? Yeah, there is no freeform, but it would be a lot of work to implement it, and I don't think it will add much. So working with some base parts, like, hey, this is a base part, but there's a lot of things you can design with. There are limitations, of course, like you cannot fit certain components upon certain hulls because they were not designed for it. But there's going to be a lot of room for freedom and experimentation, especially through engineering and for research and through events and with specific tasks you get. Tasks ranging like, hey, we need a specific role of tank that needs, or we need... It's more than just, hey, we need 14 tanks by the end of this date. It's got to be more complex than that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where they're going to go with the game. Of course, what I've shown you so far, I will just remind you, is just pre-alpha. This is not even alpha yet. This is not even pre-alpha yet. This is incredibly bare bones, just a proof of concept to show to the world, like, hey, we want to build a game about designing tanks, about building tanks, and then like how would it be like to be somebody like Ferdinand Porsche, like the design team, the factory, like the Henschel. I can only think of German specifics right now, but like who the company behind the tanks, like the designers, and not the guy that's driving it or anything along those lines. I think it's unique, and especially if you're interested in World War II, or if you're interested in tanks, or World War I, of course, but mostly just in tanks. or in like Tycoon games, or which allow you more design possibilities. I think this will be a game which you're gonna enjoy a lot. I'm looking forward to the Kickstarter campaign, which is gonna launch hopefully late May 2020, but that's depends a little bit on how far they can get, of course, in development and setting it all up. But definitely keep your eye out in this one. And the link in the description to their Discord and their website. And yeah, I'm wishing the guys the best of luck, and I want to thank them for giving me the ability to take a look at this game as early as it is in development. So with that, go to their Discord, go to the website, keep an eye out for their Kickstarter campaign, and hopefully you'll be backing this game. And with that, I want to thank you guys for watching and see you hopefully in the next one. Have a very good day. Bye-bye.